Hello Smart Movers and welcome to Smart Move Insider, a place where we talk about fitness from within. My name is Sergio alongside our head coach Bart, and today we're going to talk about programming. Who is making all this up and why we are doing it? Expect to understand why do we need to know gymnastics, weightlifting and to do a lot of cardio. We shall discuss about heavy days, ring work, upside down exercises, snatches and many more. Let's start with the man who is making all of the programming. Bart, how are you today?
I'm good. Today, a subject that can go very long, just like nutrition, programming. It's been a learning process, let's say. Been programming for how long is the gym open? 8-9 years.
Yes, for the new members and everybody listening, Bart is making the programming for the first moment everything got started. So I think before the gym was even open, you were having like an over 10-year experience.
Yeah, when we were still outside, then the programming evolved a bit, because now when I look at the workouts we used to do outside, I wouldn't program like that anymore. But I guess that's part of the evolution, that you look back 10 years and you say, I've become better at this.
Yes, learning process.
Programming. I think to explain a little bit the logic of CrossFit programming, we're probably going to need to go through a couple of subjects that we already discussed in some other podcasts, just to refresh your guys' mind a bit. We know a lot of people, they walk through the door because they hear from a friend how fun CrossFit is, that it's intense, that it's challenging, that every day it's another workout, that there is a nice community aspect to it. But most people, and understandably, they never really dive into the theory, the real why behind why are we doing what we're doing. They think it's just a made up on the spot type of deal, and you just throw in at random things from day to day. But there is a logic to the madness.
So it's not just a circuit.
No.
Usually you do it in every gym. No. And we don't show up at the gym just looking around and scratching our chin and thinking, okay, today we're gonna do wall balls, deadlift, ring rows. No, we actually do it. How much do you do it a month in advance?
Yeah, I do it a month in advance, because at a certain point I started working with cycles, and also I try to give you people on the group, on our Facebook group, a bit the focus of the month, so you know what to expect. So I try to get 1 month in advance in, because of course there is a lot of variance, but there is a certain focus. Like I had a month where I focused more on the snatch, so we had a lot of snatch movements, but also snatch related movements like overhead squats, a lot of overhead work in general, a lot of squatting, so all focused a bit more on the snatch. So there were more snatch movements that month than usual. The next month, like we're now, we're end of June, the next 4 weeks is going to be a bit more gymnastics focused. So more upside down work, more core work, L-sits, toes to bar, pull-ups. Like we will discuss later, more body weight movements also in certain metcons, because we consider gymnastics also in a general thing from a CrossFit point of view, things without load, so body weight, so an air squat, we consider it gymnastics as well. So that's how I like to prepare myself month to month.
So it's variance, not random, not just throw anything in there. You're having a thought behind it and you're trying to improve a certain area that you want to see some results. Like you just said earlier about the snatches. That's why we did more often, because you wanted to improve in that area.
Yeah, exactly. And I think our coaches also give me that feedback, that when we focus on a month to a certain element, that you do see improvement. Like already after 2 weeks of doing once or twice a week being upside down, you can already see people getting more comfortable kicking up to the wall and holding the handstand. So yeah, what you do more often, you get better at it. It's only normal.
Yes, because when you try the first time handstand, your head just fills up with blood and you cannot focus anymore. Mm-hmm. Or you're afraid of kicking and putting yourself in that position. So true.
So let's go over shortly what is CrossFit again, if you still remember from your level 3.
To say the definition.
Yeah, what's CrossFit?
Constantly varied functional movements under intensity.
Yeah, so we're using elements of gymnastics, powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, and then general, let's say, cardio, what people would call typical cardio, running, rower, air bike, jump rope, so the typical cardio elements, and we throw them in a metcon, what we call metabolic conditioning. We throw them in a combo, like what people would say. What did you say? Circuite?
Circuit. That's
Yeah,
what.
kind of.
Yeah, people when I talk to them when they're coming from another gym say, I did this, I did circuit like this. I just tell them, yes, we have a version of circuit, but you'll see when you get it.
Exactly, it's a version of, but it's not the
I
same.
don't want to get into it sometimes, you
No.
know.
So like we already said before, constantly varied functional movement. So the varied part is not random. It's I need to put day to day in a way that the next day you can train again. So if I'm gonna do heavy back squats today, probably I need to give the legs a little bit of a rest the day after and make some kind of a combo with upper body, or maybe I will still use legs, but maybe it will be a rower in combination with upper body, or maybe it will be body weight, and we will do air squats, because that's gonna maybe help you recover from the heavy back squats from the day before. But doing 2 days in a row heavy legs will probably not be a good idea. So we do need to put a bit of thought into the process, so because the goal is that you can come back.
So you're basically having an overlook over everything. Like you have a spreadsheet that you are looking to day to day what you have over there, right?
Exactly. And what if I can put it on a month view, and then I can see a little bit what trainings come after each other, what did we do on Saturday, what's going to be the next one on Monday, and I'm trying to imagine a bit out of experience like this, what probably you're going to be sore there or there. So then I know a little bit not to overdo it on certain muscle groups. Doesn't mean, because a lot of times we do full body, but it's more about putting weight again on the same muscle group, or maybe hit the muscle group a little bit in a different way. Like for example, I can do bench press one day, and then I can do strict presses in another day. We're pressing, but we're pressing in another direction, so it's going to feel a little bit different. So I need to keep that in consideration a bit. The main easy thing to think is what is probably going to hurt the day after, so I keep it in consideration. And like we're going to talk about now, is that variance, it covers a lot of things. We can search variance in a lot of ways. We can change weights. We can go high rep, go low rep, go long distance, go short distance. We can do a short watt, a medium watt, a long watt. And then of course we can change movements, gymnastics, weightlifting movements, the typical cardio movements. So we play around a bit with that, and that going to give you the variety from day to day, and it's going to help you also not get overtrained. So I need to keep that in mind a bit, not to overstress you.
Sometimes when I explain to a newbie what we are doing at our core, I just explained the last part you just said about the movements. We have weightlifting, we have gymnastics, weightlifting, and metabolic conditioning or cardio. So I just tell them that we do a lot of body weight movements. Doesn't matter if you do pulling or pushing or just squatting. Then you do weightlifting, that's every weight you lift from the ground over the head. And cardio, we just do running, biking, rowing, and whatever else we can create. Mm-hmm. This is how I explain it at the base. And then I'm thinking about the load, repetition scheme, time domain, and the rest.
The thing is, when we make this variance, is that we need to acknowledge that there is not one move that's going to make you fit. So from a CrossFit point of view, we put this variance in, so you get a little bit of everything. So because we go short, medium and long, because we have different energy systems that kick in when you do short and explosive movements, energy systems more in the medium range, and then energy systems like the oxidative energy system when we're going long. So CrossFit in essence wants to create a general fitness, so we need to attack the body a little bit from the different energy systems, but also from different moves, different weights, because sometimes you will have low weight, high reps, sometimes you will have in Metcon heavy weight, low reps, so we play around a little bit because we want to create a general fitness. We don't want to be on one side or we don't want to be on outside.
Yeah, so you don't want to be just training 40 minutes plus workouts. You want those short 5 to 15 minutes and those intermediates 15 minutes to 25.
Yeah.
If you will be on either of the side, you will adapt.
You will become a specialist. So we don't want to only train 40 minutes. We don't only want to train 5 minutes. You get good at what you do often. In the CrossFit theory, they say the magic for intensity lies between those, let's say, most of the time I aim to program. The theory says between 5 and 20 minutes, but most of the time I'm programming between 10 and 20 minutes. Sometimes we go lower, sometimes we go higher, but most of the cardio pieces, the metabolic conditioning, will be between 10 and 20 minutes, because there you can put some intensity in and still be under stress long enough. And I usually try to focus on couplets and triplets. I bet you have felt it. Couplets and triplets usually become the most intense, right?
Yes, they are the ones that look very easy on the board, but feel the worst that can in a workout. So yeah, so couplets and triplets, what that means?
It means that you put two exercises together. For example, Fran is a couplet. It's thrusters and pull-ups, so it's a couplet. And then a triplet is if you have three exercises that you do rounds for or an AMRAP. Also, that's where the variance lies. We do for time, we do AMRAPs. But from an intensity point of view, seeing that CrossFit says intensity is king, intensity will drive results. I lean more on the side of the for time, because on the for time you will push harder usually than when you give somebody an AMRAP. When there is a for time and you have 3 rounds, when you're in that 3rd round, you're willing to push because the end is near. If I'm in an AMRAP and you're in the last 5 minutes, most people will just maintain tempo. So intensity lies in the couplets, triplets, and the for time parts.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. When you know what you have to do, you can push harder. People are under the impression that an AMRAP is way more intense than a for time. That depends. If you have a for time 30 minutes, that can be like that. But if you have a for time of 12 to 15 minutes or 20, you can go really hard.
Yeah.
And the why, because I was thinking so much about this, why is it an AMRAP less intensive than for time? Because you have much more rest. You will go harder and you think you go really hard, but it's not the truth. Because you need to do as many reps around as possible. So that means you can rest as much as possible. And I once filmed myself doing an AMRAP. It was an open, and I was amazed by how much time I rested.
I was just about to say, you were probably thinking, I didn't stop.
It was just an impression. I just stood half of the time working, half of the time resting, looking at the bar.
I think it's a natural thing. I think most people, when it's an AMRAP, their pacing is already lower, knowing that I have to go 20 minutes, I have to go 30 minutes. Maybe if it's a 10 minutes one and they set themselves a goal of 1 round per minute, maybe they will hold on. But usually the AMRAPs are on the longer side, and I think they will hold back. And every time after each AMRAP, I'm thinking, I could have done more.
Yeah.
Because somehow you hold back a bit, because you don't want to blow out a 20-minute AMRAP in the first 5 minutes and suffer for the next 15. So I think it's a natural instinct.
Yeah.
There is another thing that we can play with the variance on. It's switching the workout in a way that it's or more muscle endurance focused or more intensity focused. And the typical example for this would be Angie. You could I could program Angie as a do 100 pull-ups, do 100 push-ups, do 100 squats, do 100 sit-ups, just like that. You do 100 pull-ups. When they're finished, you go to the next exercise. This will be more muscle endurance because obviously 100 you're going to have to break them up in a certain way, and you're going to get to failure because that muscle doesn't get any rest until you finish your 100. Or if I do 10 rounds of 10 reps per exercise, that's going to drive more intensity because after you do 10 pull-ups and you go for 10 push-ups, you have a bit of rest on your pull muscles. So you will be working more than you will be resting. So if I do 100, 100, 100, will be more rest. If I do 10 rounds of 10, 10, 10, there will be less rest and more intensity. So also there we can play around with the variance and same workout, but it will have a different effect on you. So as I said before, what do we want to achieve with CrossFit? We want to create a general fitness, prepare you to be fit for life, be good or medium good at everything, but not an expert. So you basically want to be able to run, jump, lift relatively heavy to your body weight. You want to basically outlift the runner and outrun the lifter. So you don't want to be on one side or you don't want to be on the other side. We want the best of both worlds. So to be able to do that, programming needs to reflect that. So that's why all the things I talked about before on Variance, it's important to vary all those things that we can, but still keeping in mind that from day to day I need to be able to come back. So I cannot do every day 20-minute AMRAP because I will accumulate too much volume and then I will be very sore. That's why some days you see maybe a 10-minute one, then 25-minute one, then maybe it's a team workout, then maybe it's a body weight workout. So it's always in mind, general fitness, and get you back into the gym regular. Mm-hmm. So maybe some of you have heard about the CrossFit pyramid, and if you haven't, maybe Google it, the CrossFit pyramid. So you see a visual. The CrossFit method is kind of based on that pyramid. The importance of the elements that we use. So in the bottom of the pyramid is nutrition. We talked about it in detail, how important nutrition is, like everything starts from there. Can't outwork a bad diet. On the second place, we have metabolic conditioning. So this is CrossFit's view on cardio. Because when I say cardio, people think running, the typical cardio things, running, rowing, swimming, all that stuff. But CrossFit basically combines their elements. So those typical, we make a combo, those typical cardio elements, gymnastic moves, and weightlifting. So we're going to talk about each of those elements. So we make a mix of those. Maybe some days it's each of them separate, maybe some days it's two of them combined, maybe some of them, three of them combined. So we play around with it. Like I said, couplets and triples most of the time. Sometimes it's more exercises, but it's all in the imagination of the programmer where you do it. There is no real best program. It's just a little bit of logic thinking. And again, think what is going to hurt? What will they be fresh enough to do tomorrow? Do I need to back off a bit? Can I lift heavy tomorrow? Can I not? So it's a little bit of common sense. How have you felt in the class programming? Because you've been doing the class programming at a certain point, five a week.
Yeah, for me, the reason I went into the classes was that it was comfortable, not thinking at anything and just going with the flow of the class. So I would just go to the class, went to the entire workout, and then I'm done. I felt that it had the necessary elements that you would need to have a general fitness. I was running one day, the next day I was lifting heavy, the next day I was doing some gymnastics, and then the other day I was learning how to climb a rope. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty complex. I liked it.
Yeah, the goal basically of every Metcon is to challenge and improve your cardiovascular system. Why it's so low on the pyramid is because, and we talked about that in, I don't remember what podcast, that it's going to be important for a longevity point of view to keep the engine, the lungs and the heart, to keep it nice and developed and get that VO2 max high. So when you're old, you can still do the daily things.
What's the rest of the pyramid? Because you said nutrition.
So nutrition, we then have metabolic conditioning, then we have the gymnastics, although people would think now it's weightlifting, but it's not. Gymnastics first. Then we have the weightlifting, and then we have sport. So third on the list is gymnastics. When we say gymnastics, first thing that comes to mind to people is the crazy moves the guys at the Olympics do. But like I said before, the gymnastics from a CrossFit point of view is basically unweighted exercises. That can be an air squat and a push-up, but it can also be a ring muscle up or a bar muscle up, a toes to bar. So the range of exercises is broad. Again, this is from a CrossFit point of view. This is when I'm thinking of gymnastics, when I'm programming, this is what we think of gymnastics, not the typical gymnastics as a separate sport. Although we do incorporate elements of the typical gymnastic sports, the easier stuff. Some people progress to more complicated stuff, but for a gymnast, handstand walking is like basic. Doing a ring muscle up is basic. So most of the things we're doing, and for our general public, they will probably never go past basic. They will not do iron cross or what else of advanced gymnastics exists.
I know gymnastics is a subject for the CrossFit HQ now. They are trying to lift the bar a bit higher. They are trying, for example, in weightlifting, a CrossFitter can participate and do pretty good. But if you go in a gymnastics competition, you will do very poorly. So this is something I heard they are focusing on, getting to the same level of the weightlifting with the gymnastics. I don't know how
it's gonna be hard. I see it also when they program the games now, more of gymnastics focus, but that's also because Bosman has a gymnastics background and likes it, so the guy that programs it. This is what you're gonna see with every programming. You will always see the preferences of the programmer shining through the program. I'm trying to do my best not to do that. I like weightlifting a lot. I like heavy lifting. I like short, intense workouts because that's where what I like to do. I'll try to keep a checklist of, okay, we didn't do any gymnastics, let's put some gymnastics in. We didn't go long yet, let's put a long workout. So I'm trying to not get caught in that, but it's a natural thing.
So you're having the programmer bias.
Yeah, every programmer has a certain bias, and you need to just analyze your program a bit and see if you did it in the last period. The nice thing about Wodify is that it can show you in a report what exercises you didn't use in a while.
That's pretty good.
So then I can run the report and say, we haven't done, I don't know, dips or strict pull-ups or whatever move in a while. Let's see if I can incorporate them in the next cycle or in the next week. To get back to gymnastics, many benefits on gymnastics: improve strength, power, stability, balance, flexibility, mobility, and it does it in a way like that. Strength and power, it does it in a way different than what you would get when you try to improve strength and power with a barbell. So it's a different, it will feel different, but you will still get strength and power from it. From a programming point of view, like I mentioned before, is that why some days in the programming you will see lighter barbell movements or no barbell movements in combination with gymnastics in the Metcon is because I think it's a good way to give your body and your joints and ligaments a little bit of a break of the barbell. Because out of experience, I know that I've done cycles before where every day was barbell work on the strength, and in the Metcons, it takes a toll on your shoulders, on your elbows, on your knees. So it's a good break while still training. And as you all know, gymnastics is not easy. You still have a challenging training. And I know a lot of people are avoiding the gymnastics because it's not easy, and everybody, also me, we like to do what we're good at.
You don't want to suck at anything, you know?
No.
It's a pretty hard road when you're trying to improve that thing that you suck at. So, can be anything, can be weightlifting for others, can be running for some of them, or gymnastics.
What I try to remind people on a regular basis is that if your goal, let's say, is general fitness, or even if you're a competitor, then even more, when you find something you're not so good at, see it as a challenge. See it as a challenge, and don't see it as like a burden, like, oh, I have to do rope climbs, oh, I have to do handstand, I'm not comfortable with it. You can only get comfortable with it and better at things by just trying them.
Why would you tell a person, a newbie or a beginner member, when they ask you, why do I need to put myself into a position of a handstand? Or why should I learn how to climb a rope? Or why should I do a pull-up?
I think, referring to the handstand, like we said, gymnastics, creating body awareness, getting you stronger, let's say in shoulders, upper back, and core in a different way than the barbell will do. Because I don't think there is much difference between doing a strict press or doing a strict handstand push-up, or holding a strict press bar overhead and maybe an overhead squat. Watch the tension you feel through your upper body while you do an overhead squat with the tension you feel through your upper body doing a handstand.
So you think it's the same?
I think it's very similar. Yeah. I think you can get strong with either. Of course, once I conquer my own body weight, there is a limit, and I will have to just challenge myself with more challenging ways of being upside down. But at the core of it, if your goal is to get strong, you will also gain strength from that gymnastics day, just in a different way. And I believe that getting stronger in the gymnastics will also carry over to your barbell movements. From a body awareness point of view, from a strength point of view, it will only benefit. So I don't think you should avoid. But if they would ask, do I need to do snatches or handstands to get fit? No, of course not. But the other part is then, why do we incorporate it? Because we're looking again for variance. So we're trying to hit the body from different angles, different exercises, make training interesting by not always doing the same thing. So then we're coming back to what we talked about before. Like, we want to stimulate you to a general fitness, give you a little bit of everything, and keep training interesting. So you need to keep an open mind in trying new stuff. You will see when you conquer them, you will start enjoying them. Doesn't mean that if you don't want to be on your hands and you want to skip training, nobody's going to hold it against you. I'm just saying, if you want a general type of fitness and you want variance from day to day, this is how we do it.
What I would add to that is, you need to do gymnastics because you will develop your brain and your body awareness in a different way than lifting weights.
Yeah.
Because for longevity, for example, you need to be as agile and as capable as possible. You need to know how to jump, tuck, roll, handstand, pull yourself. It's like when you're a kid. They say you don't age because you're just aging. You age because you stop playing. So stop playing means all the things
also
that we used to do. So this stuff is like just going again and trying new stuff for your brain to still develop new pathways of
because
movement.
I think you also had that chapter in your level 3 about, at a certain point in life, it's harder to learn those patterns, you learn movement patterns slower, the mind-body connection. So if we can practice that all our young life going into our elderly age, how cool would it not be that grandpa of 70 still walks on his hands?
Yeah, that chapter is in CrossFit Seniors.
That's where
you start losing cognitive something. So you're not learning as fast as you used to before. So that's why you constantly need to challenge yourself motorically, like hand-eye movement. Motoric, hand-eye movement. That's why there's a lot of play in CrossFit Kids. There's a lot of playing, and it's equilibrium, throwing
the ball, grabbing the PVC.
CrossFit Seniors is quite the same, but at a different level. You will still play a few games and touch a few cones just for motoric
development. And that's why I think it's important also to include that.
So that's why I don't understand when somebody asks us, why do I need to handstand? Why do I need to headstand? Why do I need to do gymnastics? It's not because we need to get fit through this, but you will develop certain skills that it's not so visible. It's that progress that you don't see, but it's just there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you wouldn't have it, those skills, you would know.
Yeah.
So then on the third level, third level of importance in CrossFit programming or in the CrossFit method is the weightlifting. In essence, when we talk about the pyramid, I think most people would put more importance to this one. But like we said, cardio first, build that engine, gymnastics, learn to move your body first, control your body, get strong with your body, and then importance, then we focus on weightlifting. In the main idea when in that pyramid with weightlifting, they mean the Olympic lifts, snatches and cleans. But it's also everything connected with the accessory, squats, deadlifts, rows, stuff like that, also stuff with the barbell. And I also get that question, like you get about the handstand, why do we need to clean, or why do we need to snatch? What would you answer to that one?
The snatch is the perfect test for your mobility and coordination. That's the most complex movement in the sport so far. I would do that also for motoric reasons, but the clean and the snatch helps you put the force from the middle to outside of the body. So it doesn't mean you clean a barbell, you can clean your child from the ground. You put it on a hip and just jump with it, and the kid jumps a bit higher. So it's getting the energy from within outside. That's how I explain it.
Yeah. I also would add to that the advantage of the clean and snatch is that it's full body movement, so we are recruiting a lot of muscles all at once, which will be efficient because we're working with the entire body. It creates power, speed, coordination. You also will discover some mobility issues probably and work on them. That's how I fell in love with Olympic weightlifting, and because of that I started actively improving my mobility to be able to do the lifts better. So in the beginning when I started CrossFit 14-15 years ago, I couldn't do an empty barbell overhead squat to full bottom because I was too tight in my upper back. So CrossFit / Olympic weightlifting forced me to work that a bit. So it has plenty of advantages. But again, can I get you fit without snatch and clean? Of course. But it's again about challenging yourself, do new stuff, movement patterns, coordination. It's not only about what muscle does it work. So CrossFit doesn't think only today we do quads, then we do shoulders. It's more about movement patterns than it is about muscles, like isolated muscles. Doesn't mean that sometimes I program for the fun of it some bicep curls at the end of training, because there is nothing wrong with isolating muscles. It will help with your pull-ups, and it will help cleaning if back muscles get isolated once in a while. Today I programmed some chest. What did we do? Push-ups combined with banded flies, because a lot of people, they are still chasing their to improve their push-ups. So a little bit of isolation work on chest and the front of the shoulders. So there is a place for those type of things. What's closely connected to that part of the pyramid, and maybe we can talk about it now, is the heavy days, because lifting, the lifting part.
So heavy days are different than weightlifting.
Weightlifting is just the general term. So to make a bit of a differentiation, we have the general term weightlifting, so they're coming back in the Metcons. Let's say we do 10 hang power snatches in a Metcon, multiple rounds, okay, weightlifting. But we also use the lifts separate as a heavy day. In a heavy day, as the word says, we're trying to go heavy. So the goal of the heavy day is to improve absolute strength, to make you strong for your body weight. It's in a low rep range, usually 1 to 5 reps. usually above 80% of your 1 rep max. And the goal is to lift heavy to get you strong for your body size again. 1 to 5 reps doesn't get you bigger, it gets you stronger. So it's a little bit different. The heavy days, I program them on Wednesdays for 2 reasons. If you trained Monday, Tuesday, then you probably got a Metcon in, and also I like it, then maybe Wednesday can be a bit of a mental break from Metcons. You know you're going to come and train, but you don't need to go to high heart rates in the Metcon, so it can be a nice break to know, today I will not suffer in that way, but I will lift heavy. And a second reason is I put it on Wednesday because on Wednesday I program also endurance. So I want you to come to the heavy day, but if that's not your goal and you're not interested in lifting heavy, I'm not going to force you. But for general fitness, you should, because it's going to be important to keep a certain amount of strength as we get older and a certain amount of muscle mass. But I program it on Wednesday because on Wednesdays I also put the endurance class. So if you don't want to lift heavy, you can go to the endurance class. And an endurance class from a practical point of view matches well with the weightlifting, because the heavy day is mostly stationary. You're in one spot, you can share the bar, you don't need that much space, so it matches to have 2 classes shoulder to shoulder.
So heavy days, they don't have any Metcon.
Usually not. I have done it once in a while, like a kind of a finisher, but then it was again in that same style, a bit more muscle endurance wise, nothing that really raised the heartbeat. But let's say 90% of the cases only lift weights.
To be honest, this was my favorite day when I was having a break from the cardio, from the Metcon days, you know. I was thinking now, why do you think you are more prone to fall in love with weightlifting than gymnastics? Why do you like it? Not especially you, a regular person.
Like in general?
Yeah.
I think they like it more because the results are more visible and faster, because you can see if you spend time on your weightlifting or on strength in general, because it doesn't need to be just snatch and clean, let's say squat, that from month to month or week to week you see small improvements and it's very visible. Month 1 I lift 50 kilos, month 2 was 55. You see obvious progress. I think on the gymnastics it takes a bit longer to see, it's not so obvious. So I think that's the main reason. What do you think is the main reason?
Yes, I think it sucks less. Gymnastics, it has a really big toll on your body, and doing it too often can break you. You can have swollen joints if you're trying to do it too often, and you need to be a certain weight. If you're too heavy, gymnastics is not that easy for you.
This is, if it's personally for me, why do I like weightlifting more than gymnastics? I'm over 100 kilos. Weightlifting is more friendly on me than, and I'm also very tall.
Very tall, yeah.
From that point of view, weightlifting is not very easy on me, but from the kilos point of view, it's easier to weightlift than to do gymnastics. Doesn't mean I don't do any gymnastics, but I need to pick a bit my battles, what gymnastics and what scaling option I pick. Like a strict handstand push-up I cannot do, too heavy. I can do keeping, I don't. Because
can you press 100 kilos?
No, I can press 80 kilos, so I'm still far away to press 100 kilos. Can you press your body weight?
Not yet.
But you can do strict handstand push-ups.
I can do many.
And many. Yeah. So I don't know. There is somewhere a correlation that I'm missing there of why I cannot do even one.
I think it's mobility.
Yeah, not
because
comfortable.
When you lie on the wall, certain part of the weight is like diagonally on the wall. It's not all in your hands. It's not like a strict press.
Okay.
It's a bit different.
Yeah, it's still something I'm working on, so I don't try to avoid it, but I do scale it. Definitely scale it. When we have handstand push-ups, I'm usually box spiked, and it's no problem. It doesn't hurt my ego. It is what it is. You have to work with the body that you have, and all of you listening should do the same. It doesn't matter. Stick with the progression that you can handle and keep doing it and keep working. Also the other things around, like the weightlifting that we're doing and just get stronger and keep working the skills. And as your general fitness goes up, certain skills will also start to improve.
I think piked handstand push-ups are pretty close at the strength level. They test also your mobility and your strength, and it's not very comfortable. They take a bit of the load back, but the pattern movement is so close to the original one that is heavy. So if you're piked, that's good. You're good.
I suffer there a lot. If I have to do a set of 5 to 8, I need a break. It's not easy, not at all. The same with ring rows. It's not easy. A lot of people still think ring rows is scaling, but sometimes I put this on purpose as the RX movement because I know it's hard.
It's a different pathway of movement.
Yeah, yeah. I rather do keeping pull-ups than do ring rows because I'm gonna suffer much more on the ring rows. So don't shy away from the ring rows. Let's see what I still have. I still something on the heavy days. Yeah, as we talked about in lunch, be careful with your heavy days and your 1 rep max percentage. Try to base your percentages off something that happened in the last 3 to 6 months, because when you're gonna put in Modify, like me and Sergio, we have a long history. So I can have, if I did a very heavy deadlift back in 2017, the percentages will stay the same. So look in your history. That's what you said, right? You look in your history and you look a little bit what happened lately, right?
I just look at what happened in 2024.
Yeah.
So I'm looking and basing my numbers on that. And specifically, I look at my CrossFit total. I have over there the main lifts. So I base myself on, let's say, April. We did this latest.
Yeah, because the reflex I saw with a lot of people is just to directly look at the percentages, but you might get a big surprise because you might be lifting too heavy. So like Sergio said, look at something recent.
And then you get disappointed very fast. You think you regressed, you think you're not that fit, but it's a different period of your life.
Yeah.
So it's normal. You cannot be the same like in 2017 if you had a kid, if you moved, if you... I don't know, anything can happen.
So what you're saying is you're not always the same strength throughout the same year even.
I would wish to be a linear uphill, but it's not. It's like EKG, like your heartbeat. It goes up and down, up and down.
Because sometimes people ask me that, like, man, I got weaker, and I say, okay, but let's analyze it a little bit. How often did you train lately? How well was your food dialed in? Did you get enough sleep? So a lot of factors, like we talked in other podcasts, will influence that. So don't directly be demotivated. Make sure you lift from a percentage that is based on the one max recent, and analyze a bit. If you didn't make progress, analyze a bit the why. Because maybe you didn't train as much as you thought. And go look a bit in your history. I pulled a report of somebody and they said, here I had these results and there I had, and now it's down. And then I pulled the report and said, yeah, but in that period you were training 14 times a month and now you're training lately 8 times a month. It's normal that your fitness is going down a little bit. You're not at the same volume anymore. And it's okay, periods in life, but just base your disappointment on facts, not on assumptions. Like, just look in the history or talk a bit with the coach about this.
Exactly.
The other importance of heavy days is that they carry over to the Metcon. So if we take Fran as an example, 2159 pull-ups and thrusters at 40 kilos. If I need to do 45 reps of thrusters and I have a front squat of 100 kilos, it will be relatively smooth going. If I have a front squat of 50 kilos and I'm trying to do with 40 kilos, 45 thrusters, obviously it's going to be a different story. So if you can push your absolute strength up a bit, it will carry over in how the Metcons will feel. So, but then you need to lift heavy to be able to get that 1 rep max up. So that's why it's another reason why you should come to the heavy days. Have you had the girls, or usually it's the girls, come to you and say, I don't want to lift heavy because I don't want to get bulky?
Every time. It's a common subject. They think they're going to touch a weight and they're going to get buff.
You want to get buff also, right? You would like to get more muscular. How hard is it?
is very hard, and it's a hormonal thing. It's very hard to gain muscle, gain mass, not just muscle, gain some mass. If people say I can get fat very easily, yes and no, but when we're trying to build something of quality, it's a different game. You will not get that fat in brackets that fast.
No, there are certain things that need to happen to gain size and to gain muscle. Like you said, hormonal. Your body needs plenty of testosterone to gain muscle. Another thing, you have to work out hard and with high frequency. So if you come to the gym 2-3 times a week and you lift one of those times heavy weight, it's not going to happen. The frequency is not enough.
And I think we don't do that big of a volume. Like we're not doing 15 reps of not glute bridges, 15 reps of a certain movement so that you get hypertrophy training.
No.
Because that is when you might get a bit swole when you do hypertrophy, but we're not. We are basing our numbers in weightlifting from 1 to 5.
Exactly. That was going to be my next point. Get strong, lift heavy, 1 to 5. More muscle, I always say that. Hypertrophy, 8 to 12 reps to muscle exhaustion or close to, plenty of volume sets, not just 2 sets or 3 or 4. No, 20 sets in the total training or 24 sets on that muscle group to make it grow. So when we're on a heavy day, the goal is not muscle gain, the goal is get strong. It's neurological adaptation as well. So from that type of training, you're not going to get big. Maybe your body composition in overall doing CrossFit will change a bit, but on a heavy day, lifting heavy for 1 to 5 reps, you're not all of a sudden going to wake up and be all muscular. I wish it was that easy. And you also have to have a bit of good genetics to gain muscle fast, to be honest.
From a programmer's point of view, how do you know your programming is working?
There are some test moments that can be on lifting, that can be on gymnastics, and on metcons, the named metcons, like I don't know, what did we do recently? We did Annie recently, a Murph came by recently. So you can just look in your history. That's why it's important to log your history. Usually people do it for the weightlifting, not so much for the metcons.
So from an athlete standpoint, member, you need to put in your scores, times of the workouts and weights that you lifted.
Yeah.
The time that you finish the workout is the same, has the same importance like the weight, right?
Yeah, of course, because on one side we did a set of maximum pull-ups. It's going to be important that you put how much pull-ups you did, or if it's banded, that you note it down. We have weightlifting that we're testing to see if you're getting any stronger, and we have benchmark workouts, we call them, so test moment workouts, where we do the same workout at least 2 times a year, so we can see if in the last 6 months, with all the other workouts we did, we could improve our time on that specific workout, because every training contributes to general fitness, because that's the goal. I want to get your general fitness up, and then if I redo a friend, I want to see if you can get a better time, if you can do it faster. And if we can do it faster, we can objectively say that we gained fitness.
So basically, you are making the programming and then you do certain workouts for testing.
Yeah.
And based on the number that they put in, you see if they have a score better or worse than the last time.
Yeah.
And if it's too much in the left category of they didn't do a better job, you can see, okay, what's the problem here? Did they show up constantly? Are they giving the same effort? Or what's happening over there and what can we improve?
Exactly, because it could be as easy as this person didn't PR their friend because they didn't train that often lately, so their general fitness cannot be up. So I will not take that person in consideration in my general view on why didn't people PR. But if half of the group PR'd, I think we're in the right direction.
Exactly. Yeah, because at strength cycles it's very easy to follow the results. You lifted 50 kilos, you lifted now 52.5, that's progress.
Yep.
But at the metabolic conditioning, you just need to look at your benchmarks or the workouts that we know we do it at a constant basis. But I'm looking sometimes it's at Murph, Kelly, Cindy, Fran. These are the ones that
The
I'm
girl
looking.
names,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all. I like to use those ones because they're like typical CrossFit programming. Couplets and triplets, fast ones usually for time, and with nice movements in there. Then we end up at the end of the pyramid. It's sport. What does that tell you when we say sport in the pyramid? What does that tell you for you?
For me, I don't know how much CrossFit is agreeing with this, but for me, sport is how am I doing, not sucking at life. So basically, I know that CrossFit was made to improve your sport that you are already activating in. So everything under the pyramid should help you do better at your sport. But if you don't have your sport, for example, you don't play professional basketball or professional boxing, your sport is the life capabilities. How capable are you? How capable are you in running a mile and lifting body weight, your body weight or double body weight deadlift? This is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, sport can be many things indeed. That's also what I think about. Can you take your fitness outside, do the daily things, help the friend move his couch, run behind the grandkids, jump in at random to a game of football or volleyball at the barbecue and be fine, like do the life things just well and to be able to do whatever you can. But what CrossFit wants to emphasize is that we all like to be in the gym, chasing goals, chasing PRs, higher squat, more pull-ups, faster 1 mile run. But don't forget that this fitness, we're building this to enjoy the things that life brings you outside the gym. So don't only be in the gym, do something physical outside with that fitness, enjoy. And it's also makes me feel good to know that I can do anything at any moment with the fitness I have, in comparison to maybe people from my age that cannot just jump into a football game or a volleyball game or go for a hike, or because they don't have the same general fitness I have.
That you put it really well. So how can you enjoy all the work you're putting in? Can be hiking, can be playing amateur football, can be just climbing.
Yeah, many things to do, especially in Romania. We have a lot of things outside that you could do in nature, so take advantage of it. So another subject I want to cover, because now I've been talking a long time about why we program the way we program. I want to talk a bit about how I started programming all the way back in 2016-17, and it's something called the difference between conditioning biased programming and strength biased programming. So when we started our journey, it started with strength biased programming. What does that mean? It means that on most days you do your warm-up, you do some strength work, a back squat, a deadlift, whatever, something for strength, and then you do your metcon. So every day you do those heavy lifts. You basically prioritize putting strength before metcon. So the strength part, it's in that programming, it's important. Back in those days, most CrossFit gyms were programming like that. Why? Because we saw the CrossFit Games athletes, and to prepare for the CrossFit Games, that's how they trained. They did strength every day. They touched that barbell every day, and they needed to get their cardio up also every day. So every day was also a metcon, and it also made sense. You're like, you get the best of both worlds. I'm getting stronger, and I'm getting more cardio. So it made sense because we saw these guys doing it. That's what we did in the first 6 years. That's how I programmed, because the programming I was following was competitors programming. Matt Frazier, Rich Froning, Ben Bergeron had his competitors programming that we also did together for a while, and that's what they did. The thing is that I saw many people walking in and not able to get even close to the RX weight, so I thought if I make them do more strength, they will get closer to the RX weights. But the problem with that thinking was that the goal of CrossFit is not for you to do the RX weights. The goal of CrossFit is to hit the stimulus of that workout with the strength you have and the cardio you have, and to get a good workout in with the goal of reaching a general fitness. The goal is not to do double bodyweight back squat, triple bodyweight deadlift. Like we talked before, the goal is for you to be able to do the daily stuff. And like a lot of people in the goal reviews we do, most of them say, when I ask, I'm coming to the gym, why do you come to the gym? Why do you train? What's the main goal? They say, I want to de-stress, I want to move on a regular basis and feel good, and I'm training for a long and healthy life. Having a double bodyweight back squat or a triple bodyweight deadlift is not training for longevity. So the program, according to majority of your goals, what I just said is longevity. So the programming needs to also reflect that. To help your friend move his couch, I don't need to deadlift 300. That's if I deadlift 100 kilos, I can move his couch. I can do the daily stuff. So the disadvantage that I saw over the years was that with me programming strength all the time is that people started getting a lot of overuse injuries. And the reality is that people, they're not taking their recovery as serious as they would like to train. Like we had in another podcast, we talked about that. You want to train like an athlete, but you don't recover like an athlete. So I started switching the bias a bit to what CrossFit is intended to be. So I made that switch a little bit more than a year ago in the programming. And now we have the separate heavy day, and now we are Metcon biased more. Doesn't mean I didn't put in strength and sometimes some accessory work, but there is a difference between strength work and accessory work, because the strength work will be that what we do on the heavy day, 1 to 5 reps heavy. If I put some extra work in, usually it's a bit more of a volume style training, some accessory work to work on some weaknesses, like today with do 12 tempo push-ups into supersetted with banded flies. While before, years ago, it would be a heavy deadlift, it would be a heavy strict press, 1 to 5 reps, so it would be heavy, also heavy on the nervous system. And I noticed that people are getting more little pains if I do that type of programming. So our goal is in CrossFit and also as Smart Move is that you guys train regularly, come back the day after, and I'm not in control of how you recover, but I am in control of what I program for you. So you could do competitors programming, but then you need to live accordingly. So this is the reality, and I don't see it put in practice. So we were losing too much members to injuries, and in essence, CrossFit was never intended to be competitors programming for the general public. In the last years, we also started getting more support from CrossFit. They showed us actually affiliate programming. They showed us from day to day how would their method look like from day to day, which in the beginning years they didn't show. So now I have some guidance, so I saw over many months how do they do it, and now I managed to program in that same style. And I see and I hear less injuries than before. So this is the main reason why we went from strength biased towards what CrossFit intended to be, Metcon biased. That pyramid, nutrition, metabolic conditioning. Metabolic conditioning more important than doing strength every day. So we need to make the differentiation between the competitor and the regular member. This is the important thing that you need to tell yourself. Am I a competitor or am I training for longevity? This is the regular member. A competitor competes. A competitor signs up for competition. So don't tell me you're a competitor, but you never compete. You're not a competitor. So you're a regular member. So if you want to compete, we are willing to put time into it. We made a small competitors group. How many competitors do you think we have that signed up for competition?
I think we have 6. So we now have a special program for this, for people that want to put that extra effort in and participate. So there's a special class. We do extra classes that we have, guided by Coach Max, and he makes 2 times a week special programming for these guys. And now, especially after 2 competitions, he has something to work on because he has a past now and he can track his progress accordingly.
Yeah, and so imagine 6 competitors, over 300 members. So it's a very small amount of you that actually compete. So obviously you're here for longevity. So the programming needs to reflect that. With competitor programming, as we talked in other podcasts, comes more heavy lifting, more training days, more volume, more pushing your body closer to its genetic potential. It's fine, recover from it, it's fine, but competitors eventually will always get hurt. It's a fact. It's not a matter of if, it's when will they get hurt. It's because you push your limit every time towards the limit, so eventually it's gonna happen and then you're gonna recover from that injury and you're gonna pick up, it's okay. But when you're training in that direction, you need to accept that that is gonna happen eventually. If you're on the longevity side of things, you won't have that amount of volume. If you listen to your body and you make smart choices in training and leave the ego at the door at times and use your actual current 1 rep maxes when you lift heavy, you're gonna be safe. Doesn't mean you will never feel anything. That's just not realistic. Any sport you do, you might get small injuries, even with running. So no sport is injury-free, doesn't exist. As long as you use common sense and make smart choices in training, you will be fine. If you're on the competitor side, you know that you might, that there's gonna come a day that you're gonna hurt something. This is the part of the game. Pushing limits, this is the part of the game. So make a differentiation between on what side you are. So when I used to be into the strength bias programming in those beginning years, I would often put in cycles on a deadlift or on a back squat where for 8 weeks every week you would back squat, and it would be a linear progression where weights would go up, reps would go down. So the first week maybe you would start with sets of 10, you would go to sets of 8, 6s, 5, 4, 3, 2, eventually would end up at a 1. Knowing our people, I noticed that the average member trains 3 times a week. So imagine that I'm putting a strength cycle in over 8 weeks and you, maybe with luck, catch half of them because you don't always train on that day when that squat or that deadlift is happening. It's very hard then to keep you safe and to at the end let you lift, I don't know, now today we're gonna do 5 sets of 3 at 90%, but you didn't put in the work of the 7 weeks before. So I changed my focus on how I approach those heavy lifting days, and you'll see more often on the board, go for a heavy 3, go for a heavy 5, go for a heavy 2. And then afterwards, maybe do a couple of more back off sets at 90% of the heaviest, whatever you lifted that day. At least like that, you will just be able to go on feeling instead of having in your head, I have to lift 90% today. Because for some of you, it wouldn't be smart to lift 90% because you didn't put the work in. So I think this approach will still maintain your strength or improve it and keep you safer because you're gonna go on feel. The heavy, if I do a heavy 3 back squat today, maybe it's gonna be 120. If I do it next week, maybe it's gonna be 110 because I'm going on feeling, and maybe one day I'm feeling better than the other because of different reasons, didn't sleep enough, didn't eat well, stuff like that. So like that, not having to focus so much on the 90% and feeling like a failure if I cannot hit my percentages, I think it's gonna be a better approach from a longevity point of view. Especially for those, because we're not talking about conditioning biased versus strength biased programming. If I don't lift heavy every day, I'm not going to get strong. There will be a limit to it for sure, but even with one heavy lift a week, I still see people PR. When one time a year I put 1 rep max, because what I think is that we shouldn't underestimate how that we can get also stronger with the metcons. So don't underestimate that part. I think the metcons definitely can get you stronger. Of course, the metcons are cardio pieces where you're working with usually 40 to 60% of your 1 rep max. But don't underestimate, if I have to do 5 rounds of 20 push presses at 60 kilos, 20 reps I won't do unbroken. So for me that will feel like a volume set of sets of 10 with very short break in between. So I'm gonna definitely get stronger of doing those 100 reps at that weight. So I think why some people still PR even with one heavy lift a week is, of course, they do the heavy lift a week, but they also challenge themselves with the metcon weights. And the metcons can definitely still bring another type of strength to you that will help you with your absolute 1 rep max strength. Another change we made in the programming is general warm-up and specific warm-up. In the past, a lot of people told me that not every day they felt fully ready for the lift of that day when we did strength bias programming or the metcon of that day. It felt a bit rushed. So now we'll have a general warm-up just to get you generally warm, raise your heartbeat, get your joints a bit loose, and we'll have a specific warm-up. In the specific warm-up, it's two-sided. We do warm up a little bit more, but usually it's with the moves that coming, like when we do the barbell drills for any of the Olympic lifts. And it gives us a chance to dial in a little bit of technique while you're not under the pressure of a metcon. It's still lightweight. You still can make changes when we give you cues, because I think all of you have been there that the coach gives you a cue mid-metcon and you were so tired you barely heard them. So not too much change. So it's important to practice also to improve technique. So when you're under fatigue, you know what to do and the cues make sense. It's a bit easier also for the coach to correct you when we have a little bit 10 minutes of just let's do some cleans under lightweight before the metcon starts. So besides the technique part, I think this will help you warm up and be ready for the metcon, because we've all been there that we do 5 rounds of a metcon and the first 2 rounds suck, and all of a sudden at round 3 you feel better. You've been there, right?
Yes.
The explanation usually for this is that you were not warmed up that well, because the reflex of people is that they should not tire themselves too much for the metcon because they want to have a good score for the metcon. You should actually spike your heart rate and also get close or go over the weight you're going to use in the metcon to prime your body to be ready for the intensity coming. So sometimes maybe it might feel that we're warming up along with the general warm-up and specific warm-up, but it's for you to be able to put the real relative intensity in your metcons and to be really ready to go hard. Because going in semi-cold, it usually doesn't bring you to the best performance. So it's important, take your warm-ups serious. Another side note, if you have specific mobility issues, don't be afraid to tell the coach that you have a certain mobility drill that really works for you and that you prefer to do it over the whatever the coach suggests for that day. Because we're suggesting just a general hip stretch, for example. If you have one that really works for you, do it. Just say it, because it's a bit weird if all of a sudden I say do world's greatest stretch and you start doing another exercise. So say it in advance and it's no problem. Do what works for you. And then the last subject is, okay, I like longevity and stuff, but if somebody would tell you I have like a focus on strength with the program we have now, what would you recommend them? Because I know we say don't cherry pick. General fitness, come to all the different days, you'll get the most general fitness and the most variance of it all, but maybe somebody's not interested and I just want to get stronger. Cardio, it's fine, but I want to focus a bit in the next period on strength, for example.
In this case, I would guide them for not group classes, personal training, or specialty classes. Like we have Lore and Raresh with Grow Strong and Become RX, or just come to the heavy days more. I have no idea.
Maybe they can do a combo, yeah, for sure. So Lore and Raresh, each at each location have a program focused on general strength that they hold 2 classes per week. You could top that off. If I would only want to do strength, I would go to those classes. I would go to the Olympic weightlifting classes with Vlad and I would pick the heavy day. If I would only be interested in pure strength, or make a combination where you do those classes and still do a class where there is some, at least a metcon, because you don't want to lose your complete cardio. But if you are focused on strength and you don't want to lose your cardio, pick the days with cardio where they are the shorter ones, like 15 minutes and below. Don't go for the endurance class of 40 minutes, for example, because that's not going to match very well with your goal. On the other hand, you have then the cardio where you can do the same. Like I said, I wish you not to skip the heavy day because it will be beneficial in the long run. But if you want to skip the heavy day, on Wednesday go to the endurance class. On the other days, pick the classes where there is not too much lifting. I said sometimes I put some lifting in, but it's more of accessory work type, 8 to 12 reps, that type. So it's not heavy lifting. It's more of a volume style training. And pick the days where it's more cardio focused. So you can cherry pick towards your preferences and you can be fit in the way that you want to be fit. I can just tell you, you want to be the fittest you want to have general fitness, get your heavy days in, get the long cardio in, get the short cardio in, lift heavy, lift medium heavy, lift light, so get a little bit of everything, get gymnastics.
Yeah, that's really good. So just one last question. How do you bring all of this to the coaches? Because you're just one person and we have 14 coaches. So you have a lot of knowledge when you are making this. How do you transmit it to the coaches to know what they should focus on and then tell the people what they should focus on, because it's like a ripple effect?
Yeah, it's a lot of info. In the beginning years, we weren't so organized, and but now every day the coaches get a separate briefing online, where they get a description of what the goal is of the general warm-up, what the focus is of the specific warm-up. It can be gymnastic drills. Okay, what do we try to reach with this drill? What do we pay attention to with that drill? How does it look like? So they get videos as well. The same with the weightlifting. What's the focus? Is the focus go to a heavy set on the complex, for example, or is the focus on every set is the same weight? So it depends. The same with the Metcon, like we talked about in our podcast about stimulus. They get the stimulus explained there. What am I trying to achieve with this workout? Am I going for muscle endurance? Are they supposed to sprint this workout? Are they supposed to hold back? Are they supposed to challenge themselves with the kettlebell swings today? So they get a bit of a briefing like that, so they can transmit it to you guys what the idea of the programmer was. What does the programmer, being me, want to achieve with this workout? What's the goal of the workout?
So basically you are making the whole programming for the entire gym to progress, and then you're making alongside this a sheet for every day of workout, explaining the coach a bit more of your intent.
Because because we often have it can easily be misunderstood because you do not know what the thinking process of the programmer is when he puts a workout there. Two different coaches can look at the workout without explanation, and maybe they will give you a different direction of it. So just so we're in one line, I brief them. So at Bereria looks the same, at Unamai looks the same, at 7 o'clock looks the same in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the evening looks as good as the same. So the main idea is brought the same to the client. And this takes some work, a couple of hours per week of programming, but I enjoy it.
Yes, now we have a better understanding of what you do over there, and it's a lot. It's overwhelming for a person that doesn't know it. And even for me, I feel it like if I would be in your shoes for a week, it would drive me crazy because it's not my strong point. So kudos to you. It's really good what you're doing, and keep it up. And I think it's a good place to wrap it up today. If you have any questions about programming, please feel free to send us via our email info@smartmovecrossfit.ro or shoot us a straight message on Instagram @smartmovecrossfit. If you want to find out more about the two of us, you can find our details into the show notes. Thank you for listening, and we'll hear you on the next one.